Right now, at the girls' squad entrance, everyone comes out to welcome their hero must have returned. Ru Min-seok looks up from below and gives a handsome smile to return the warm welcome. The next morning, a hand is holding a soda can. Cha Hae-ji keeps practicing to give the soda to him. It's getting hotter lately, isn't it? Haha, I found it in my bag. Isn't this yours? I picked it up on the way. Here, drink it. Realizing her own actions, like a teenage girl in love, making her angry at herself. I can't do this embarrassing thing. She stands by the railing, covering her blushing face with both hands. I'm going crazy. How can I make this look natural? Two soldiers see her strange behavior. They start gossiping. Isn't that Captain Cha Hae-ji? What is she doing over there by herself? The other guy understands the situation immediately. But maybe it's out of jealousy, who knows? At this moment, frustrated with herself, Cha Hae-ji screams out loud, I can't do it. She covers her face in sadness. Gosh, I'm going crazy. How do I make it look natural? Just then, two soldiers walk by. One sees her and asks, Isn't that Captain Cha? What is she doing alone? The other one frowns and says, I don't know, and I don't damn care. As for Cha Hae-ji, she's still trying to find a way. Or should I just not give it to him? Why bother giving it to someone who keeps lying to me? It's not like he's that great, but I should still say hello. That Ru Min-seok guy, he really saved the whole squad. Suddenly, Cha Hae-ji looks down below and then gasps when she sees Ru Min-seok and Cha Bong-ho. She mumbles to herself, What are the Colonel and Ru Min-seok doing there? This is perfect. With 3 people, it'll be less awkward. Let's just get it over with. Cha Hae-ji creeps closer. Just as she's about to speak, she's interrupted by Cha Bong-ho's voice. What did you just say? Ru Min-seok says bluntly. Let me repeat what I said. Tonight, Dami and we will be leaving this place. Cha Hae-ji drops her jaw in shock. Cha Bong-ho tilts his head to confirm the information. He speaks. If you say you're leaving, I can't stop you. But this is too sudden. You said you still had work to do. If something even more ferocious appears like a slippery entity, our entire squad will definitely die. Until our squad gets stronger. Can't you stay a little longer? Facing Cha Bong-ho's questioning, Ru Min-seok coldly asks back, Why should I do that? Why should I sacrifice myself for this squad? Whether the people here live or has nothing to do with me. Cha Hae-ji hears those words and staring her in disbelief. She storms out from where she was standing. She can't help but shout, Is that true? Ru Min-seok calmly replies, That's right. The only thing that matters to me. Whatever happens to the rest of you, I don't care. Cha Hae-ji bites her lip to keep her emotions from going out of control. She doesn't say another word and just turns around to leave. Cha Bong-ho worriedly calls out for Cha Hae-ji. I thought if we followed the Amit route from the start, then sometimes things like this would happen. When the time spent together through life and death, Cha Hae-ji throws the soda can away, tells herself and at the same time, Wake up. Cha Hae-ji, what do you expect from a monster like him? I'm really going crazy. Ru Min-seok is lost in troubled thoughts. Regarding Hae-ji, I've started to have feelings for her. So before it takes deeper root, I must cut it off like this. Only then will she be safe. Though he tells himself that, Ru Min-seok's sad eyes completely betray him. Knowing he can't stop Ru Min-seok anymore, Cha Bong-ho says softly, Be careful, Ru Min-seok. Don't just coldly push people away. Try to think rationally too. In this world, is there such a thing as safety amidst threats? Are you really sure? Or join me in making this squad into the strongest shelter. But we don't have much time left. In the previous life, it took a year for a slippery entity to appear. But this time, it only took 10 days. At this rate, other high-level zombies will show up. This place will fall before it can be fortified. Looking at Cha Bong-ho, he says firmly, I've made up my mind. Today, Dami and I are going to Daedong. That night at the camp, a strange creature appears outside. Its body is covered in sharp spikes. Its eyes are glowing red. And its mouth is wide open, revealing jagged teeth. It gradually becomes larger and more hideous. Walking beside it is a crowd of brainwashed zombies. They slowly walk down the deserted road. At this time, Ru Min-seok is driving out of the camp. The two sides encounter each other. The monster's body explodes. Back to the time when Ru Min-seok was talking to Cha Bong-ho. He was firm in his intention. I've decided. Today, Dami we'll go to Daedong. Cha Bong-ho shouts upon hearing that.
Ru Min-seok.
But before he can continue, he cuts the colonel off. But I will also give the colonel an offer. The roller drives smoothly through the quiet streets. Behind and on both sides
there are other
of his vehicles driving alongside him. Cannons from the tanks begin to fire. Shooting forward, the zombies explode upon impact, making blood-curdling screams.
Ru Min-seok
silently asks,
"You're curious too, aren't you,
about
Colonel?
the most perfect shelter, about the colonel's dream?" Cha Bong-ho looks at him and gives a bright
Ru
thumbs up.
Min-seok
Just silently looks back through the vehicle window, where a girl is sitting right next to it. Sees her father looking. So she also gives a thumbs up to signal
He
she's
thinks
okay.
to himself,
"Come and witness with your own eyes the survival of the shelter." Dae-dong expedition. Depart. At the north bank of Miho River, rain is pouring down. A flash of lightning tears through the night sky, allowing us to see a slimy green monster. It opens its mouth wide and lets out a roar like a thunderclap. Then another bolt of lightning strikes down. Looking at the screen displaying the image, monster, Cha Bong-ho gasps.
Oh,
"Look at the size of this thing. It looks massive." Ru Min-seok explains, "Biscuit is a high-level slug-like zombie. Regarding its poison, its venom will ooze from its entire body, not just from one part. Just a light touch can be fatal." Hearing this, Cha Bong-ho asks urgently, "So what do we do now?" "The only way to Dae-dong from here is that bridge. We can't hesitate." Ru Min-seok says calmly, "It's a nocturnal species. If exposed to UV the poison on its skin will harden, and its mobility will drastically decrease. At that point, if we cut the protrusion in the middle we can kill it. There are 2 hours left until dawn. Hopefully, the rain stops before then." Reaches out to catch the raindrops and turns to ask Lee, "Are there any other biological reactions nearby?" And replies, "Nothing else besides that creature, sir." Cha Bong-ho nods. "Good. Let's take a break here. You guys, repair the armored vehicles." The soldiers shout in unison. "Roger." A while later, it's still raining heavily with no sign of stopping. A soldier says coldly to Lee In-hee, "This is fishy. No matter how you look at it." Lee In-hee asks back, confused. He smacks his lips and glances at Ru Min-seok, Cha Bong standing next to Cha Bong-ho. Ru Min-seok guy. How does he know so much about zombies? Lee In-hee defends him. He's an expert. He frowns and snaps. "So what if he's an expert? Has he lived through a zombie apocalypse before us? The colonel doesn't even have much artillery left. But he keeps trusting that guy. Does that seem reasonable to you? The colonel is getting old. Maybe he's getting senile, he keeps rambling on without realizing Cha Bong-ho has appeared right behind him. Thinking like that is an insult to the honorable colonel, you know that? Immediately after, starts screaming in pain. Cha Bong-ho grits his teeth. He rubs the guy's temples so hard he cries out. At that moment, Ru Dami steps out of the vehicle and stretches. "Whoa, we've been sitting for so long, my back hurts." Suddenly, a voice calls out to her, "Dami." Dami crouches down in fear, clutching her head and screaming. Sees this and stammers out, "Dami, what's wrong?" She holds her chest and snaps at her father. "What was suddenly appearing behind me like that? How could I not be startled?" Ru Min-seok smiles. He holds out a bag of snacks and says gently, "I was just afraid you were hungry." Ru Dami is still shaken after being spooked by him. "Don't just pop up like that." Ru Min-seok looks confused. "Huh?" She stammers, "I'm still not used to your face, Dad." Hearing that, he gives an awkward laugh. "I'm sorry, Dami. I don't look like your dad." Ru Min-seok's question makes her pause. Ru Dami hesitantly asks, "Ru." What? Min-seok is startled by the expression on her face. "Oh, huh?" Realizing he misspoke, he immediately laughs it off to cover up. "Dad looks much different now than before, right? I don't look like my old self anymore. It must be hard for you to recognize me. But you're still grateful to me, right?" "What are you saying? Why am I rambling?" You didn't mean to ask her like that. A question that's always been on his mind. But he didn't dare to say it, fearing Dami's answer. "Dad, why? Someone who has become a monster like me. Why do you still accept me?" After a long silence, finally Dami gently points at his eyes and says, "Dad, your eyes. Your eyes are still the same as they've always been." Ru Min-seok is flustered. "Eyes? You mean these red eyes?" "Dad, do your eyes get red often?" Ru Dami snaps angrily. "What are you saying?" "Not that." She takes a small snack and bites it. She recounts, "When I was 7 years old, Mom passed away. From then, you've always had That look in your eyes.
The look of someone who sees me as the most pitiful
Dad,
person
your eyes always
in the
look
world.
like they want to say sorry to me. Every time I see you like that, to be honest, I get very
Because
annoyed.
the most pitiful person in
is
the
you,
world.
Dad. That day, 2 weeks before the door burst open, a person covered in blood walked in. Ru Dami remembers that day, seeing Ru Min Seok with the body full of wounds and
She
blood.
was
very panicked. But then, immediately after Ru Dami calmed down, she whispered, I saw that look in your eyes. In this world, the only person who looks at me like that is you, Dad. The next morning, when the sunlight reached its peak, that slimy monster appeared. Cha Bong-ho seized the opportunity and ordered to fire. After his command, shells were fired one after another, aiming straight at the monster and exploding. It was let out horrific screams. Just as it failed to defend itself, Ru Min Seok lunged forward. He leaped high into the air with 2 sharp swords in his hands. Min Seok used all his strength down at that monster. His strike split its body in half. The water surface shook violently as well. The soldier who previously Ru Min Seok witnessed that scene and could only gape in shock. No way. Cha Bong-ho appeared from behind and gently placed a hand on his head. I understand why you doubted Min Seok, but Ji-han, do you think it's a matter of choosing to believe or not? The monster let out deafening roars and finally met its fate, falling into the water. Looking at the strong back of Ru Min Seok, as he stood tall on the monster's carcass, Cha Bong-ho spoke with a proud voice. In this hell, the only thing we can do is believe in that man. We have no other choice. Ru Min Seok's carried a cold, emotionless quality. He recalled every past memory, the 99th life. It took 378 days to reach Daejeon, and now in the 100th life. Only 14 days after the zombie outbreak. What I've been longing for all this time. Everyone, including Ru Dami and Cha Bong-ho, was stunned by the sight before them. Because they had finally reached Daejeon. They reached Daejeon. In Daejeon City, Useong District, a zombie, after taking a hail of bullets and a fatal shot right in the middle of its forehead, lay with flat on the ground, sticking out, unconscious. A military boot stepped down, making sure the zombie, even though dead, would not rest in peace. Along with the notification sound from the radio, all enemies have been neutralized. A squad, fully equipped from head to toe, returns after completing the mission. On that day, the information recorded within the military 10:47 am, Useong District, Daejeon City, successfully defended. Yes, in the military command center, a soldier wearing headphones received the news. So happy, he stood up and slammed both hands military on the table. Commander of the city. Daejeon was successful. The defensive line there has been confirmed safe. The commander couldn't help but hearing this good news. He asked again, is that for real? At the Pandemic Response Command Center of the Joint Chiefs of Staff in Gyeoryong, a man with headphones continued to listen to the report. He sat down and reported the situation. All units sent to other urban special zones have mostly been wiped out or lost contact. Only one place still holds strong and sent a report. That is Daejeon. The commander asked further, then what's the situation in Zone B1? The man with headphones hesitated to report. Since hearing the phrase, hold your position, from the radio an hour ago, until now, I haven't been able to contact them anymore. Hearing that, the commander was so furious he slammed the table. Damn it, another failure. Then he closed his eyes and grit his teeth bitterly. Trying to accept the truth, he thought, the zombie pandemic is spreading too fast. The military is almost powerless against this disaster. Before him was a map, marking the danger levels of each area. He read the data while mumbling, now, how can we fight against thousands, millions of zombies appearing everywhere in the country like this? Commander, could this is the beginning of the end for our country? A blue dot among the red dots, signifying danger on the map, caught his attention. It caught the commander's eye. He smiled in admiration, as if seeing a ray of hope for the country. In just 3 days, they didn't just survive, but also repelled waves of attacking zombies. The only point reported as a successful defense, except or should I say, as expected from the colonel, nicknamed Blue Wings, returning to Useong District, Daejeon, where the soldiers successfully completed their mission. Standing in neat lines, waiting for the next order, turned on the radio and requested, this is Alpha. We want to expand the operation to Useong District. Requesting headquarters permission. After receiving the report from the radio, the commander closed his eyes, lost in thought for a moment. Because right now a little recklessness could bring disaster to the military. Yes, He still kept his eyes closed. As if unsure about his decision, he announced, "This is command. We approve, Alpha. Complete the mission at all costs." From behind the infrared glass, a pair of stern eyes, as if having been through countless life and death battles, received. The commander, filled with worry, observed the detailed information about, while silently praying. "I'm counting on you, Alpha, right now. We only have a war general like you left. If you can defend Daejeon well, and expand the scale to Yuzan district, then once again, we can counter-attack this zombie flood." Alpha began to move after receiving the order. Suddenly, his eyes became filled with shock, because he saw something unbelievable. In front of him, on the skyscraper nearby, a figure appeared at the top of the building. That figure was purely muscular, looking like a world-class heavyweight fighter. Looking closer at the figure's eyes, a pair of blood-red eyes signaled a zombie. A high-level mutant has arrived. Back to the present, Ru Min-seok and Dami's group, along with Colonel Cha Bong-ho, couldn't hide the shock on their faces. When looking down at Daejeon City, the colonel asked in wonder, "Hey, Ru Min-seok, what's going on? The Daejeon you kept talking about. Why doesn't it look like what I imagined?" "I see." The setting sun shone down on the city, revealing a bustling, peaceful city in a time of chaos. Cha Bong-ho burst into hearty laughter. "This city is even better as a fortress than I thought. Now understand why. You always mention Daejeon. This place far exceeds expectations for the strongest fortress." But the soldiers under his command were also full of praise. Seeing the peaceful city below, believable. There's still a city like this during the zombie pandemic? Suddenly, I feel so much more at ease. But Dami, after going through so many hardships she had her own conviction. "Don't believe your eyes, believe in your father." She turned around to ask, "Is this place really like what you said, Dad?" "Daejeon City has." Before she could finish, Dami saw Ru Min-seok. Veins were bulging on his face from anger. His face gradually darkened. Dami was surprised and called out, "Dad, what's wrong?" Since killing the high-level zombie Vikut until now, the intuition within had been growing until he saw the city before him. He didn't understand why. There was always a feeling that something was wrong. And he suddenly became extremely furious. Because, according to his memories of the previous life, after the zombie pandemic broke out, all cities in this country collapsed. And Daejeon was no exception. This city was submerged by the pandemic, but after that, they immediately counterattacked and successfully repelled the zombie floods. Step by step, they reclaimed and rebuilt it into a strong fortress. From the first time he arrived at, it was more than a year after the outbreak. At that time, they had only reclaimed 3 districts of the city. But now, only 14 days have passed. Why is the entire city being defended stronger than ever before? Me and them did all this in just 14 days. In my heart, a flame of unsettling anxiety rises. With the sharp instincts gained from living through 99 lives, it's telling me that the city is harboring something horrific. With that uneasy mood, Ru Min-seok immediately turned to remind his daughter, "Ru Dami, listen carefully to what I say. Dad, from now on, you must not leave my side for even a single step. Do you understand?" His precious daughter was momentarily stunned by his strange attitude and replied, "Dad, you're scaring me." Meanwhile, Colonel Cha Bong-ho also got to work. "Enough chaos. We don't have much time. Everyone, get ready." Though he spoke seriously, his expression betrayed him. He smiled as if everything was about to work out. "Hurry up. We're heading into the city." A soldier came to call the colonel, making him lose his mood and let out a cold snort. The soldier, holding a tablet, nervously reported, "May I give a brief report on this matter?" Cha Bong-ho stepped forward. "What is it? Is there something strange?" He held the tablet up to him. "Well, sir, consider it a strange event. Since our convoy passed through until now, we've crossed many vast fields." As he spoke, he recalled the scene when the army passed by a rice field. He continued the report. "During that time, I saw giant tracks, exactly as if a giant python often crawled through this place. Those tracks stretch across a wide area." But only now did the colonel pay attention, because on the way, he only focused on the zombies and asked back, "A large track, and those things too?" He pointed to the tablet and continued reporting. Those tracks are massive. You wouldn't notice them from the ground. I felt a bit suspicious at first, so I flew a drone to check the situation myself. And this is what the drone recorded. After seeing the footage, Cha Bong-ho could not hide his shock. What on earth is this? It's way too big. It looks like an alien firing lasers, drawing an angel from outer space. Hearing the word angel, Min Seok immediately lunged as if he snatched the tablet and pushed Cha Bong-ho aside. Only a monster can hurt another monster. Colonel Cha Bong-ho rubbed his arm and cursed angrily. Hey, that hurts. Min Seok, what the hell are you doing? His face darkened, ignoring the colonel's scolding. A second later, after carefully watching the footage recorded by all the veins on his face bulged. He was so angry he grit his teeth. From the tablet screen, an image of an angel with familiar wings was drawn on the vast field. Looking at the face that had given him 99 chances to redo his life, he realized and thought to himself, I never realized it until now. The reason for this chilling intuition through my body. Now realize the wave of terror that we're about to face for the first time here. This Daejeon will be the strongest wave. It can even be seen as fighting against fate. In Daejeon, at the airport skyscraper in Useong district, a blindfolded soldier standing outside the door reported inside. 10 suspicious characters have been confirmed near Suyeon. All forces sent there have lost contact. In front, a dark figure with hands behind his back, leisurely enjoying the moonlight. There were strange lines of light there as he responded. Send a team to bring them here. You must not fail. If possible, treat them with the highest respect. The shadow slowly turned around, revealing the figure of a polite man with long hair. From his eyes, a red glow of high-level zombies flashed. He smirked wickedly and continued. Because only then will she feel satisfied with our city of miracles. At that same time, the moon rose to its peak, shining down. A stage was set up below the skyscraper. The stage showed images of the zombies harming every innocent citizen. Hundreds, thousands of viewers across the city gathered to watch the performance. From the speakers on that stage, the voice of the host began to play. In the face of the zombie pandemic, we are no different from ants, standing before elephants, waiting to be crushed. Some lost their families. Some lost their friends, and some lost the one they loved more than their own lives. All hope, all joy of living has vanished because of this pandemic. The surrounding lights went out, leaving only a few spotlights shining. Focusing on the top of the skyscraper, a figure appeared standing there. The narrator's words continued. Right before our eyes, that person has appeared. The name of that hero is Big Joe Hun. A few people in the crowd began to recognize him and smiled happily, as if meeting an idol. Big Joe Hun jumped down from landing above in a cool hero pose. The crowd cheered, so happy their eyes welled up with tears. He's here. Oh, he's right here. The eyes of the citizens gradually lost their clarity as they continued to cheer. It is him, our city's Big Joe Hun. A man wearing a white suit, with a hood covering his head down to his eyes. On the hood was printed a pattern like an angel's wings. On the eyes of the angel, Seok 99 resurrections. He is the mayor of Daejeon. Joe Hun began to speak. Because of that, the crowd fell silent, waiting to hear the speech. We are currently facing a nightmare unprecedented in human history. This is not just our city alone, but a nightmare for all humanity on this earth. As he spoke, he clenched his fist and raised it. However, after everything, we are still surviving. After he finished, all the people raised their hands and cheered. Many pulled out their phones to take pictures of their idol. Joe Hun continued, "O honorable citizens of the friendly Daejeon, do you think that our city's survival is just a coincidence being outside the zombies' attack zone? No, it is not like that. We are the last flame on this land. We will be the burning hope for all humanity." At this point, the citizens had completely lost their sanity, like lost birds, brainwashed by sweet words of praise, praising him to the skies. Oh, Big Joe Hun, thanks to you being in the city, that we can live here in peace. From thousands of cheers, the name Hun Big echoed Joe everywhere. Feeling the plan was about to succeed through their welcome, he proceeded to the next step of the plan. Winning their hearts through pride, engraving it into each person while placing a hand on his chest. Every last flame of humanity in the city of Daejeon, I will absolutely not
let
a single flame go out. This Big Joe Hun will become dry firewood
to
serve as a support to the
protect
end in our
every
city of
citizen.
miracles. All the citizens
His
cheered.
name
repeatedly without stopping. The scene was no different from
cult
brainwashing the people until they are completely lost. From beside him, Ru Min Sik's group was standing nearby
and
witnessing everything. Cha Bong Ho saw what kind of crazy city
looked
this
like
was.
a
scam organization brainwashing making him
people.
so angry that veins popped on his face.
Hey,
Ru Min Siak, is this the city you called invincible? Ru Min Siak beside him replied, no, this is also the first time I've seen this. His words made his daughter Dami feel bewildered because the final destination that her father was now like
trusted.
a blade of grass swaying in a storm. Ru Min Siak looked down at the where every
audience,
citizen had lost
completely
their mind, crying and cheering in joy. He couldn't help but feel saddened and the scene around here. Both the guy brainwashing people on the stage and the Chiang Mai squad in the back. In my past life, memories
used to be the
that
force.
strongly rebuilt the city's military fortress.
Dajin.
But now they have fallen into being the army under this organization. He looked around, as if searching for someone quite important. Surely around here on Headlap, I haven't seen him anywhere until now. Where is he now, after all? What variable is occurring in this city? And this Big Joe Hun guy, who on earth is he? Everyone, Big Joe Hun on the stage, started praising the leader of the organization. Please listen, everyone, today we have something very much worth celebrating. That is, our goddess has sent new comrades here to protect this city. As he spoke, he pointed to the side and shouted, the people who will protect us, please welcome them warmly. With a round of applause. Before they could welcome anything, a bomb was thrown as if to vent the colonel's anger. An earth-shattering explosion occurred on the stage, along with the screams of the citizens. Colonel Cha Bong Ho immediately ordered to control the situation. Everyone, get down and cover your mouths with your hands or wet cloths. At the same time, Ru Min Siak lunged to protect his daughter. He asked worriedly, Dami, are you okay? Yes. His eyes squinted, looking around to understand the situation. It was a smoke grenade with tear gas. I don't know who did this, but perhaps this person is not brainwashed in the city. Suddenly, Ru Min Sik's eyes became surprised. Seeing the image before him, Big Joe Hun was kneeling on the ground, writhen in pain from the direct hit of the smoke bomb. While he was still coughing uncontrollably, a soldier from the Chiang Mai Special Forces appeared behind him, with a gas mask on his face, pointing a gun directly at his head. Big Joe felt a strange presence behind him and turned his head, only to see a large gun barrel pressed against his head. But there was no time for him to react. A loud bang echoed everywhere, and at the same time, the citizens below, as if they guiding had lost light in life, screamed in pain. Oh no, mourned Big Joe Hun. His face. He's been shot in the face. Other Chiang Mai forces immediately returned in a panic and lunged to restrain the soldier who just fired. You maniac! What the hell are you doing? How dare you? Before he could finish, the one who was just cursing became stunned. Because the soldier he was restraining was his captain, Shinji. He couldn't help but exclaim in surprise, Captain, why are you here? Hearing that, Ru Min also couldn't help but be shocked and turned his head to look. The image before him was the hero from his previous life who successfully saved the city and built an invincible fortress. Shinji's neck veins were bulging. He tried to shout to bring the brainwashed people back to their senses. Citizens of Dajin, everything is over now. Open your eyes and wake up. Even up to this very moment, you still don't understand what's happening. From the very beginning, we've all been tricked by this Big Joe Hun. Now is the time for everyone to unite. To fight against these heretics. After those words, his body seemed to be pulled up by an invisible gravity, standing tall right behind, even though he was covered and had a messy hole in his head. Any normal person seeing this scene, how could they possibly believe that the person in front of them is human? But they were no longer ordinary humans. Instead, they cried out in joy, weeping and shouting. Standing up. Lord Big Joe Hun has returned to life. Hearing that, Shinji suddenly looked over, gritting his teeth in anger. Big Joe Hun, just as I thought, you're a monster. He didn't pay the slightest bit of attention, standing there with both arms wide open, feeling the cheers of his followers. Today is truly a happy day. The day we face
who
the
caused
demon
chaos in the city once again,
and today
is also the final day.
we will thoroughly
The demon
punish
Shinji
and bring peace back to the city, he said. The soldiers of the Chiang Mai
seemed
special
to understand
forces,
the command.
one used a cloth to gag Shinji, another restrained him and lifted him
Along
up.
with the words of purification
And the frantic shouts of the people, the soldiers finished, shackling his hands in a wooden pillory like a death row
preparing
prisoner
for a
from
public
old times.
execution.
The citizens down below kept cursing in a state of frenzy. That murderous demon, Shinji, our Lord Beek Du-hun. How could he ever lose to a demon like you? Carry out the divine punishment on that demon immediately.
Do it.
Do it.
Do
Du-hun
it.
raised his hand, signaling them to
Following
stop. Was a
that
silence without a single sound from the crowd below. It was as if their brains commanded their mouths to stop. Du-hun continued his speech. Citizens of Daejeon, I want to send my thanks to all of you. 3 sources of strength helped me return from the dead. It's because everyone has always
prayed
encouraged. As he spoke, he pointed toward the citizens. You are the ones who are truly the miracles of this miracle city. After those words, the fallen souls couldn't contain themselves. Each and every one of them put their hands as
to
if
their
trying
chests.
to suppress the joy within. One of them, having fallen so far
couldn't
into hell,
help
but exclaim, Goddess Jai Dong always lives in the hearts of our people. The goddess has reignited the extinguished flame of Daejeon. Taking advantage of the momentum, Du-hun added more fuel to the fire. To everyone, the beginning of the city's glorious history. It will be the final, eternal, and inextinguishable flame. The entire crowd below the stage couldn't hold back anymore. They burst into celebration with supreme joy, along with the triumphant screams of those mindless, lost souls. It made Colonel Cha Bong-ho and Shinji feel like their brains were shaking. Looking at Beek Du-hun shouting with the people, Min Seok couldn't help but fall into deep thought. A question kept repeating in my mind. The strange event, like a miraculous blessing I once received, and even my current bizarre body. I can't say I'm human right now. A question constantly lingers in my head. Am I the only one with this bizarre physical condition? Looking back at the great battles, the premonitions I felt, everything I've experienced so far, it's like an abstract painting to the point where no one can understand it. But today, the answer seems to be gradually becoming clear before me. I can state with certainty that he is the same kind as me, a mutant zombie with human memories. Beside him, his daughter Dami was hugging herself in fear, shaking uncontrollably, afraid of being affected by these cultists. Min Seok understood that they couldn't stay here much longer, so the group had to find a nearby inn to temporarily rest and plan for the long term. Jae-han spoke up with the suggestion. We have to leave here immediately, right in that room. He, along with Min Seok and Cha Bong-ho, and the other person were discussing what they had just seen. Jae-han continued, Colonel, we must return to the brigade quickly. This place isn't normal at all. The person next to him also chipped in. I think so too. Supported by the person next to him, gained courage and poured out his thoughts. I admit the infrastructure in this city is very good. Water, electricity, transportation, there's no doubt about it. And the walls. But everyone here seems to have lost their minds. Especially that mayor guy. Right, that Beek Du-hun, the one leading them like a cult, wearing that white suit on the podium. He's the most dangerous one. That deceptive performance almost made me want to throw a C4 bomb at it. The colonel asked in confusion, what performance? But as if fueled by the colonel's attention, he answered both Cha Bong-ho's and the other person's questions at once. That's right. Everything on that stage was an act. He's in league with that guy. The black-haired one in the Cheongmyeong uniform. I'm telling you, I saw it clearly. When the smoke bomb was working, making the surroundings blurry. I saw it. When that black-haired guy pointed the gun at Beek Du-hun, he even smirked, as if the plan had succeeded. The more he spoke, the angrier he got. Veins were popping on his face. A place where the leaders conspire to trick and incite, using every terrible trick to fool innocent citizens. I even heard that there's another execution ceremony tomorrow. I don't know what kind of tricks they'll play on the people tomorrow. The person next to him also stood up to advise the colonel. I don't think Jae-han is wrong. If we keep staying here, we'll just get caught up in the game of these rulers. Before he could finish, the colonel interrupted Everyone, get out. He closed his eyes, looking as if he were still about the decision he had already made in his Everyone heart. Out. Min Seok, stay here. For the first time, they saw the strong, decisive looking colonel. So hesitant. The two soldiers, subordinates, didn't dare to say more. They just asked for permission to leave Jae-han led the way, opening the door and going was still out. Standing outside waiting because she was feeling remembering anxious. The scene from earlier. She couldn't shake it off. Min Seok knew this well, so he followed the two soldiers to greet her. To reassure his daughter. The two monsters of humanity and began a serious conversation. Cha Bong-ho spoke first. Min Seok, tell me, Baek Do-hun is the same kind of monster as you, right? Min Seok sighed in surprise. Colonel, I didn't expect you to have such keen eyes. Cha Bong-ho continued. I knew the moment I saw him. The aura he gives off is just like when I first met you. He glared at him angrily and asked. You already knew, but you still wanted to come here. Did you join hands with that Baek Do-hun? To trick us into coming here? Min Seok immediately refuted. That's absolutely not the case. Because if I saw you as an enemy, it would put Baek Do-hun in danger is a variable I didn't expect. The colonel crossed his arms, nodding as if he had anticipated this answer. I see. Then he stood up, hands on his hips, and declared loudly, all right, the conclusion is reached. We will return to my brigade. I trust the strength of the brigade I built with my own hands. And if we stay here much longer, I'll actually start to worry about it. As he spoke, Cha Bong-ho closed his eyes with thinking regret. About the highlights of this place. The infrastructure Daejeon is truly what I expected. Even more than that. My dream is to see the people of this country gradually recover after the pandemic, starting from a strong fortress, becoming a setting the stage for rebuilding humanity's fortress superior to anywhere else in the world. But as long as the people of Daejeon are easily manipulated, as long as that madman continues to brainwash everyone, this place can never become a true fortress. Like my subordinate said, getting involved here will only bring trouble. Therefore, we'll prepare to head back to the brigade now. Min Seok shared his thoughts, so he immediately replied, yes, I agree. Time passed until the next morning. At the skyscraper, two guards were standing at attention with rifles, guarding the entrance gate. Standing before them was Min Seok. He came to negotiate, leaving Daejeon and returning to the brigade. He put on a friendly smile and greeted them. Hello. I am Min Seok. I'm here to meet the mayor in this building. One recognized him and reported. He's the new citizen who joined the city yesterday. The other, with the stern face, informed him. Sorry, please go back. I don't know the reason, but Mayor Baek Do-hun has ordered to see no one. Min Seok stepped forward to continue negotiating under the startled gaze of the two soldiers. Could you pass a message to him for me? If you deliver it, he'll definitely want to see me. As he spoke, he smiled gently, recalling the discussion with Colonel Cha Bong-ho last night. When he had agreed with the colonel, Min Seok continued. But if we want to leave here smoothly, there's a big problem. This place can be seen as a giant cult. Furthermore, in an isolated space, it can be understood they are extremely sensitive. The more he spoke, the cult, the memory of when the number 31 was dangling over his head. At that time, he and Dami were on their way to find shelter. They encountered a cult lighting a fire, executing a man and a woman tied to stakes. Also, in another life, when he tried to trust a cult with powers for once, the result was his daughter Dami died in agony. Min Seok continued, I understand very well the level of each cult member can display in a situation where they are united. If that happens, or lose their life, and assuming Baek Do-hun is a mutant like me, then surely he will feel uncomfortable with an opponent like me. The colonel got angry, feeling like he was facing something that even a monster like Min Seok was wary of. While he didn't understand anything about these so-called cults, he shouted, hey, keep it short. So, what's the plan now? Yes, Min Seok replied. Early tomorrow morning, I'll go to him and reveal my true identity to Baek Do-hun. The colonel was a bit surprised and speechless. What? You call that a plan? Yes. mixing 3 parts fake
by
and 7
using
parts
an
real
existence
that even I can't casually mess with
out
of fear of the consequences.
an existence that feels equal to a god.
Something that shouldn't appear in this city of Daejeon. Back to the present. Min Seok was sitting opposite Baek Do-hun in the tower. He sat with his legs crossed and asked politely, "So, Citizen Min Seok, what is it you want to say to me?" Min Seok smiled naturally. "You must have known already, haven't you? That's why you let me in here, right?" He lowered his head, and his face darkened. "Citizen Min Seok." Then he smirked, showing clear anger. "Don't tell me you want to leave the city?" Min Seok began the plan to reveal his identity
mixed
with the terrifying gaze. "I am just like you. I am also chosen by the goddess." Hearing that, the expression on his face immediately lost its anger, and he fell silent for a moment. Then he began to ask, "You mean you're also a representative? And the same kind as me, Baek Do-hun?" Min Seok sat upright, but his polite clothes couldn't hide his powerful physique. Red sparks flared in his eyes as he replied, "That's right." Baek Do-hun raised his hand and scratched his head in confusion, trying to remember the reason why representatives were created. Then he smiled sinisterly. "So that's how it is." Immediately after, was split in two and thrown to the ceiling along with the tea set. Baek Do-hun pinned his head down, causing the floor to crack clearly. "How ridiculous. How dare someone like you stand equal to Do-hun? If so, then prove it. Prove that you are a representative chosen by the goddess." The more he spoke, the more he gnashed his teeth. Veins popped out on his neck. "Or are you just a bastard? A demon with a cunning tongue?" Baek Do-hun remembered the time when he was on the podium brainwashing the people. A very faint scent lingered around. It was heavy and unpleasant. This was the first time he had smelled this scent. While speaking to the public, Baek Do-hun looked around to find the source of the scent. Finally, Baek Do-hun found that scent. It came from a stranger on his right side. A bulky figure with powerful muscles and a face he had never seen before. Baek Do-hun approached and began questioning, "What is your name? What is your name?" That figure smiled. With terrifying red eyes, he replied, "Yes, I am Min Seok." Back to the present. Baek Do-hun was still pressing Min Seok's head into the ground. "Since yesterday, you've been emitting that unpleasant smell. And even now, it's still this strong. I found it quite suspicious before. So I was planning to call you today." The more he spoke, Baek Do-hun got angry, veins bulging on his face. "Something like you dares to claim equality with me? Then let me see if you're really chosen by the goddess or just a bastard, a demon with a cunning tongue." While shouting angrily, he suddenly paused. His expression gradually became serious. A second later, jumped back immediately, as if sensing something dangerous. Looking at his hand, he saw the 4 fingers that had pinned head down were broken and deformed one by one. Baek Do-hun looked up at him in surprise. Before him, he saw a terrifying along with an aura filled with countless killing intent. Meeting a worthy opponent for the first time, Baek Do-hun reached the peak of his anger. His 4 injured fingers immediately recovered to their original state. Baek Do-hun rushed forward, determined to have a life or death battle. 2 powerful auras collided, creating a massive shockwave. Outside, a chubby figure heard it and hurriedly ran to the office and shouted, "What was that? What was that noise?" He was Kim Sang-young, the vice mayor of Daejeon. Arriving there, he saw 2 members of the Cheongmei forces. They also heard the noise and were standing in front of the mayor's door. One of them spoke up, "I heard a noise from the guest room. I called out to Lord Baek Do-hun, but he didn't answer." Hearing that, the vice mayor shouted angrily, "You bastards, break the door and get in. If something happens to the mayor, pieces of trash handle the consequences?" The other replied hesitantly, "But Lord Baek Do-hun ordered us never to enter because he had something important to discuss." The vice mayor repeated in confusion, "Min Seok? Who is that?" Inside, the battle between 2 monsters powerful healing abilities and brutal. Min Seok was losing ground, having lost an arm and a leg. But neither monster remained unscathed in the fight. Both were covered in wounds, their clothes soaked in blood. With one final blow, a powerful explosion of energy blew both of them away. Do-hun was thrown back. He tried to use friction to stop his body. His face was no longer as annoyed as at the start. Perhaps he understood his power after the fight. Before him was Min Seok, who had just lost 2 arms and a leg, but they regenerated in an instant. He still stood there, quietly observing his every move. Since the fight seemed endless, Baek Do-hun could only accept it. Looking at you, I can only admit. Double quotes. Who's all talk like that Shinji guy? He continued, but saying you're like me, I cannot accept that. Min Seok seemed to discover something strange. Immediately, his eyes became shocked, because before him, Baek Hun was emitting a heavy aura. That aura took the shape of a cruel demon. Baek Do-hun unbuttoned his shirt remembering when he was still an ordinary flesh and blood, tied to a stake to be burned. He gave a confident smile and continued, Min Seok, I will specially show you how powerful the blessing the goddess gave me truly is. Suddenly, a knock on the door from behind. The vice mayor burst through the door and shouted, Lord Mayor. Seeing this, Baek Do-hun asked in confusion, why are you here? He saw the state Baek Do-hun was in and was horrified. Are you alright, Mayor? What happened to you? What happened in the guest room? Baek Do-hun just sighed and replied, our conversation was a bit noisy. Sorry for worrying you, Vice Mayor. Hearing this, he frantically shook his head. Sorry? Don't say such nonsense. I'm just glad you're okay. Before he could finish his words, Hun interrupted. Wait, Vice Mayor. You haven't answered me yet. Then he stepped close to his face. With an annoyed look, he growled each word. Why? Why did you come in? Clearly, Hun ordered that no one was allowed in here. Why? Hearing that, his face immediately turned pale. Cold sweat poured down his face. No, I just heard a loud noise. Double quotes. Then Baek Do-hun suddenly saw something strange. He turned back and asked, now, what's your point? Facing him was Min Seok, kneeling on one knee to show submission. He began to explain, it seems you've misunderstood me. When I said, I'm like you, I didn't mean we are on the same level. I, Min Seok, who also received the same blessing as you, Hun, I will follow you. Having said that, Min Seok gave a smile, remembering the plan set earlier. At that time, Colonel Cha Bong-ho asked in confusion, how are you going to win Baek Do-hun's favor? Are you going to kneel like you did with me? Min Seok replied, if necessary. Then he put on a mocking face and continued, powerful people love that attitude. Hearing that, the colonel was startled. His cheeks turned red with embarrassment. Hey, are you talking about me? Min Seok explained, we must gain Baek Do-hun's favor. Double quotes. So we can leave someone who was a threat, swearing loyalty to him. Isn't this offer very interesting? Baek Do-hun, that guy will definitely have a reaction. Back to the present. He indeed had a reaction, but it was the opposite of what was imagined. His eyes and neck veins bulged on his face as he growled, liar. After making someone believe you've won their favor, you'll protect yourself and your teammates and finally plot to betray me. Those words of yours are clearly lies. Do you think you can fool me, Baek Do-hun? Seeing the plan exposed, Min Seok's face darkened. After a moment of silence, he smiled and replied, even if it were true, Lord Mayor wouldn't be affected. Even if I tried to betray you, I'd only fail. You're doubting me, and you're stronger than me. The important thing to me is ensuring the safety of my teammates. Then he delivered the final line. How does it sound? Does it sound like a lie? The only messenger? The words, the only messenger, made Hun feel a surge of euphoria, but he still tried to act annoyed, rubbing his head. Oh man, this is so annoying. The more you talk, the more I like you. Then Baek Do-hun turned around, happily replying to his lie. All right, then. I will accept Citizen Min Seok. Your teammates will be protected, and I'll give you a special position as my assistant. Seeing Baek Do-hun coming closer, the vice mayor's face panicked in suspicion. A second later, blood sprayed everywhere. The light faded from his eyes. Baek Do-hun had used his bare hands to punch the vice mayor. Then he made an offer to him. Just in time, the vice mayor position is vacant. On one condition, you must pass my test. Hearing that, Seok couldn't help but remember the colonel's warning. Be careful, Min Seok. If he's a cult leader like you say, his behavior will be more brutal than anyone else's. Baek Do-hun gave an evil smile and asked, what do you think, Citizen Min Seok? Will you take the test? Scene changed to the next day. A guy with soulless eyes, muttering, execute, execute. The two people next to him were no different, as if cast from the same mold. their inner thoughts
Execute.
spamming.
Execute.
A second later,
Execute.
they all shouted loudly together.
Execute him.
Judge the demon.
Judge the demon.
In the middle of the large square, a person was tied tightly to a wooden
to be
post,
burned
amidst thousands of cultists. That person was the Chiang Mai Special Forces captain.
Below,
Shin Ji-gu waiter politely brought 2 glasses of red wine to offer. Would you like some wine, everyone? Facing the waiter was Colonel Cha Bong-ho's group. He flatly refused. No, thanks. Dami asked from behind in confusion. The leader told me to wear the necklace, and I did. Now, lady leader, tell me, where is my dad right now? She looked around. Seeing the uncles acting shy, not daring to look at her, she asked further. No matter how much I ask, no one answers. What on earth is going on? Something's happening, right? Right? But Colonel Cha Bong-ho didn't answer. Instead, he looked at his subordinates and ordered, "You guys." Then he didn't dare to look at them directly. He just turned his back and continued, "Take Min-sik's daughter away from here." Seeing the subordinates coming to escort her, Dami became even more worried and spoke loudly. "Why won't you answer me? Something happened to my dad, didn't it?" One subordinate just shyly scratched his head to comfort her. Dami, calm down. But she didn't care and shouted, "Lady leader." That echoing shout made Colonel Cha Bong-ho feel even more awkward than he already was. His face was scowling to the point of looking awful. Damn it. Back to the execution site of the cult. One of Baek Du-hun's arms pointed straight at the sky. "Citizens of Daejeon, from now on, we will begin the execution ritual." After those words, simultaneously, hundreds and thousands of followers shouted in unison, "Execute him. Judge the demon." Shin Ji-gu put his hands on the railing, starting to shed tears as part of the act. Before that, I must tell everyone some sad news. A second later, 2 streams of tears fell as he started blaming that despicable demon. Tried to escape this morning, and he murdered citizen Kim Sang-young, our vice mayor. The mindless crowd below was shocked and immediately with tears in their eyes. What? The vice mayor was killed? This despicable demon. What should we do? Lord Baek Du-hun is crying. Please don't cry. Lord Baek Du-hun is crying. Seeing the atmosphere reach the target, Baek Du-hun began the plan. Until this morning, immersed in sadness because I couldn't protect the vice mayor. But now, I am no longer sad. Because the goddess, who understands has sent us a suitable replacement for the vice mayor, the one who will join me in punishing that cunning demon. Baek Du-hun paused, raising his arm. Then he pointed in one direction and shouted, "His name is Min-seok." Following each clearly read word, the stage spotlights focused and toward him in a version almost like Baek Du-hun. Seok remembered when he was still trying to convince Baek he had made the test offer to gain forgiveness. That was the ritual to burn Ji-gu to death starting at PM tonight. Baek Du-hun took the hat symbolizing the position of vice mayor and stepped forward. "Normally, this is a glory bestowed upon me, but this time I'll give it to you." Then he put the hat on his head and ordered, "You will carry out the judgment. Killing the demon is the destiny for the blessed one. If you accept that destiny, I will also accept you." Down below, the citizens, who were just sad, immediately changed 180 degrees, loudly like a child who just got candy after crying. Colonel Cha Bong-ho, despite knowing the situation, but witnessing it all, couldn't help but be shocked. Seeing the attitude of these lost sheep, remembering last night Min-seok went to see him to plan, the colonel shouted in anger, "What? Tonight, you have to kill someone at the judgment ritual?" This was something he couldn't accept. He patted Min-seok's shoulder. "Enough. I don't want to hear any more. We're leaving this place immediately." But suddenly, Min-seok blocked him. Hearing Min-seok say that was impossible, Colonel Cha Bong-ho shouted angrily at Min-seok. He countered, "As long as Baek Du exists in Daejeon, that decision is even more dangerous. Coming to Daejeon and getting us into this situation. It's all my fault." Min-seok cast a terrifying gaze at his hands. "They will likely be stained with innocent blood. We have to. If it's for Dami, I'm willing to throw away my humanity." Back to the present. Min-seok lowered the torch. The flame followed the rope like a conductor, burning and rushing down to Shin, who was tied. Judgment of the mayor. The flame quickly flared up thanks to the dry wood below. Right after, the fire broke out burning violently high and scorching the skin, making him scream out in agony. Seeing this scene, the crowd was overjoyed, shouting, "Oh, it's burning. Finally, we've killed that Demon Shinji. After burning for a while, the pillar began to crack loudly. Right after that, the body of the city's hero in his past showed life no movement and fell into the fire. Min Seok still held the torch. Witnessing this scene, complex emotions surged. Baek Do-hun stepped forward. In the name of the goddess's representative, I declare, from this moment on, you will be my subordinate. Do you agree? Yes. Seok remained silent, trying to calm his emotions. After a moment, he replied. Baek Do-hun stood at the railing happily. Spreading his arms wide, he announced loudly to those below, "Let's all cheer for Min Seok, our new vice mayor." Beside the blazing fire, all the fallen souls simultaneously chanted his name. Min Seok. Min Seok. A few hours after the judgment, at a luxurious high-rise building, the Cheongmei Special Forces bowed. "Good night, Vice Mayor." After taking Min Seok to his room to rest, the three members of the Special Forces turned to leave. Min Seok closed the door to enter the room. As soon as he turned his head, the image he saw was Colonel Cha and his golden girl Dami standing there, all of them watching every single move of his with worried eyes. When he started, To opened the blindfold, and the headscarf of the Vice Mayor of the Cheongmei Special Forces. He spoke up to greet them. "Glad to meet everyone. I am the captain of Blue Eagle Unit under the Jaidong Unified Headquarters. The name is Shin Ji-gu." Colonel Cha Bong-ho's group looked at the scene before standing there stunned. The first to speak was the colonel, as only he and two others knew about this plan. "Min Seok, you really are a madman." He remembered when the plan was set. "For Dami, I'm willing to throw away my humanity, but not this time." The colonel was surprised. "What?" Min Seok continued. "We don't have much time. Listen carefully. Tonight, I will gain Baek Do-hun's trust. Simultaneously, I will take Shin Ji-gu's place to save him. In a way that only I can do." The next day, because of the big commotion last morning, the workers had to start repairing everything. Baek Do-hun directly came to supervise. The workers worked meticulously. Then a figure approached, making him happily welcome. "You've arrived, Vice Mayor." Min Seok happily stepped forward, his face looking a bit embarrassed as he replied, "Lord Baek, I'm a bit late." Baek approached to comfort him. "I understand. You probably didn't sleep at all, right? Having just gone through such a big event." Baek Do-hun still remember clearly about even last night, when you executed that demon. Look without a trace. Your hesitation makes it hard for me to contain my excitement." A second later, he grabbed his face and threatened him. "Even so, be on time next time. Got it? I don't like who dogs dare to defy their masters. Do you understand me?" Min Seok replied plainly. Hearing that, he walked away, not forgetting a professional invitation. "There is still time before the ceremony begins. So, please enjoy a cup of tea. The ceremony for our deputy mayor's upcoming inauguration will be a truly grand event." But suddenly, Baek So-hoon remembered someone and turned back to remind him. "As for Shin Ji-gu, he's been completely incinerated. Although, I heard a part of his body survived. I think it was his right arm. It was sent back last night." The right arm of Min Seok was regenerating at a visible speed. To the naked eye. Across from him was Shin Ji-gu. After the judgment ceremony, I was mentally prepared. But it's still hard to get used to this. "Mr. Min Seok replied. Sorry for being late. It wasn't easy to avoid their surveillance." But Shin Ji-gu didn't dare accept the apology and replied, "It's okay. Anyway, if it wasn't for you, wouldn't be in this world anymore." Because before the execution took place, Min Seok had gone to Shin Ji-gu to prepare for his replacement plan. Min Seok exclaimed, "There's still ash on your head." The plan was rushed, but it was effective. Shin Ji-gu replied, "Probably not as much as you. But honestly, it was pure torture." Min Seok, when standing before Baek, I managed to control my anger. But through this, I realized for certain that man, Baek So-hoon, I can't be the one to kill him. And there's one more thing I realized. Min Seok, if it's you, you can definitely take him down. Hearing that, he wondered, why me? Hearing such a cold answer made Shin Ji-gu fall silent, not knowing what to say. "You're the deputy mayor of this city now. I have no reason to do that. Don't get me wrong, I saved you only because I could." Then Min Seok spoke in a stern voice. "If there was no way to save you, I wouldn't have hesitated to kill you." Now, Shin Ji-gu dared to speak up. But Mr. Min Seok, however, he was immediately interrupted by curious why you want to kill Baek So-hoon. I admit he is capable and ruthless. But he also protected Daejeon City, didn't he? Shin Ji-gu, do you think you'd be any different? Before he could finish his sentence, Shin Ji-gu angrily slammed the table, breaking the coffee cup. His hand was cut by the shards, causing blood to smear everywhere. Right now, Baek is doing things here. And you can still say that? Yesterday and today, when you were there, did you see the people on the streets? At that time, all the citizens were inside their own houses. They sat in front of a strange kind of praying with soulless faces, muttering, "The final flame, may the hope never go out." Oh, Daejeon. What they are praying to is the image of two wings like ornaments on the goddess's eyes. Those fanatics don't even have a single opinion of their own, but instead they dance. Oh, City of Miracles. Then Shin Ji-gu stood up indignantly and shouted, "I don't know what Baek So-hoon did, but the people are locked in their houses. They can't move. They've become puppets, just waiting for the brainwashing session in his eyes." After cursing for a while, Shin Ji-gu was exhausted and panted to catch his breath. Then he closed his eyes, trying to calm the emotions exploding violently inside his body. Looking at his bleeding hand, Shin Ji-gu understood. He was just flesh and no blood. Match for monsters like Ru Min-seok or Baek. He spoke bitterly. Yes, I must admit he protected the city with incredible strength. During the early days of the zombie outbreak in this city of Daejeon, Shin Ji-gu had seen a powerful figure taking down every single zombie. Their bodies were piled up like mountains in front of him. At that time, Shin Ji-gu thought he could be the savior of this city. If we had him, South Korea might have been able to recover. Hearing this, Ru Min-seok suddenly remembered someone. That sounds like someone I know. Outside the room, the colonel, being mentioned by someone, suddenly felt an itch. This made the two soldiers next to him curious. The colonel glanced inside. It seemed he suspected they were saying something bad about him. Shin Ji-gu continued, "I was with Baek So-hoon defending Daejeon, but something was wrong. The controlled area kept expanding, yet the number of survivors found was nearly zero. Then one day, while searching around Ebon my subordinates and I discovered an abandoned warehouse. Inside, we were horrified to discover a cruel truth in the shadows for so long. At that time, the Than My Special Task Force entered a series of bodies hanging from the ceiling, and a monster was gnawing on and enjoying its dinner. When Shin Ji-gu looked closely, that shadow felt vaguely familiar. The face that Shin Ji-gu once thought was the hero of Daejeon City now appeared this way before him. Being disturbed while having dinner, the monster's face was like a bloodthirsty beast, laughing savagely and threateningly. You saw everything, didn't you? Even the task force that had been through many life and death battles to the point of immobility at this sight. Only Shin Ji-gu reacted in time. His blood boiled as he roared, "Baek So-hoon!" But immediately a blow knocked his hat off. Right after that, the monster Baek So-hoon charged in and killed every member of the Than My Force. Shin Ji-gu touched the scar on his forehead, feeling the pain of that day still clearly etched in his mind. He spoke up, pleading, "Please, Min-seok, the only person who can save is you." But Min-seok just sat there listening and fell into deep thought. "I'll act like I didn't hear anything." Shin Ji-gu tried to shout and hold him back. "Mr. Ru Min-seok just coldly turned his head and replied, "If anyone in the city dares to oppose the will So-hoon, I won't be able to guarantee my daughter's safety. I'm no hero. I'm just a father who wants to survive with his daughter." Suddenly, Dami appeared before him out of nowhere. Seeing his innocent little girl there, Ru Min-seok was taken aback. He didn't know if she had heard the conversation just now. "Dami, how long have you been here?" Dami didn't answer, but talked about something else. "Here are the toiletries for you to use when you wash up." But Ru Min-seok still worriedly explained, "What I just said was..." Before he could finish, she replied, "What? I didn't hear anything at all." Then she turned to leave. "I'm going now." Hearing that, Ru Min-seok didn't hold her back, but replied, "Good night, Dami." After Dami left, Shin Ji-gu warned seriously, "Mr. Ru, do you really think Baek So-hoon has nothing to do with you?" At Baek So-hoon's gatherings, the entire population of Daejeon attends. Didn't you notice anything strange then? Among all those people, why is it that only the young girls are absent? Stop threatening his daughter. This man is definitely determined now. Back to the time Ru Min-seok went with to have a cup of tea. He smiled gently from behind, But
deep inside was
patience required not to strike
a
him immediately.
communication device echoed in his ear.
This is Alpha.
Daejeon expedition team confirms departure.
His comrades had left safely,
No
so
longer
Ru
needed to
Min-seok
hold
back. He unleashed the power of his arm. Immediately, Ru Min-seok charged
With
straight at
wind-cutting
Baek
speed.
So-hoon. A second later, was
His
sent
head,
flying off his body by a single
while he still
punch.
didn't
understand what was happening. His face was filled with extreme resentment toward this monster that was stalking Dami. Back to a few minutes ago, a command was shouted.
Attention.
A sentry soldier with a gun in hand ordered.
Salute.
Immediately,
Salute.
the sentry squad
Saluted
their residents in a formal posture as they
At
left. 9:30 a.m., the Daejeon expedition team,
With only
Ru Min-seok missing, successfully escaped. The chubby soldier was still surprised after passing the gate. Getting out, was this easy? Turns out we were worrying for nothing? The driver replied. No, it's because things have been made easier. Even though he said that, he couldn't help but be worried, and kept his eyes fixed behind as he continued. If travel was originally free, then those armed guards would never have shown those faces, right? They were simply following orders that they absolutely could not disobey. The chubby soldier wondered, well, but having to become the deputy mayor is a bit much, isn't it? There's also the main hall. We could have snuck out. There are plenty of other ways. The driver replied. Your brain really is slow to process things. Hearing that, the chubby soldier got annoyed and asked back. What? The driver only answered, because this is the surest way. The odds for Dami to survive safely for a man like Ru, as long as his daughter is safe. He doesn't care what happens to himself. But in the car in the middle, Dami left without him. With years of experience, she knew all that if her dad left her for a lame reason, it could only be to do something dangerous. The more her face couldn't hide her anxiety and restlessness. Seeing this, the colonel beside her spoke up to check on her. Hey kid, what's wrong? Worried about your dad being left alone? Didn't Min-seok promise he had some business and would be back soon? There's nothing to worry about. You've probably all heard this since you were little. So how could you believe it? She replied. My dad has always lived like a fool, always taking the loss for himself. Even if it wasn't his fault, he would always be the first to apologize. Honestly, I hated that so much. However, when I was in 7th grade, I was delinquent with a cigarette butt. That father of mine changed once, like a madman, completely transformed into a different person. A father that angry since the day I was born. That was the first time I saw it. But last night, while I was on the balcony looking at the view, I saw my dad and Shinji-gu talking. From that, the face I saw back in middle school. Speaking to this point, she suddenly choked up and trembled. I won't ask what happened anymore. No, so please, just tell me one thing. My dad will come back safely, right? Before answering, the colonel gave the girl's silly head a gentle, affectionate tap. How could he not come back? His good, sweet daughter is right here worrying about him. You haven't said anything. It makes you sad, doesn't it? The colonel gave a confident smile and affirmed, I can give you one firm promise. That kid Ru Min-seok will be back in no time. After hearing that, immediately felt much more comforted. The look of worry faded quite a bit. The colonel also felt more at ease. Now that he didn't have to soothe someone's precious daughter. But suddenly, his eyes froze as he looked at the steering wheel. Raising his hand, his palm was drenched in sweat. In this moment, he realized he was just as worried. The little girl. The colonel thought to himself, Ru Min-seok, I absolutely believe in you. But you have to be careful. Baek So-hoon, that guy is no pushover either. Back to where Ru Min-seok just launched his attack. His eyes were full of murderous intent as he looked straight at him. A second later, his headless body charged straight ahead, preparing for a clash. A loud explosion erupted. Ru Min-seok managed to jump away in time Baek So-hoon's attack. His head, though lacking lungs, only needed vocal cords to speak. Why, Baek So-hoon, trusted you to the point. His body had picked up the head, and just by dropping it on, immediately reattached as if nothing had ever happened. So why did you betray me? From a distance, Ru Min-seok replied, You're mistaken. I was never on your side for even a single second. With those words, Ru Min-seok immediately launched a second attack. But he was easily blocked by Baek So-hoon. At the same time, he mocked, how someone blessed by the goddess has fallen into such a devil. It truly is a heartbreaking story.
Did you forget
That my power completely overwhelms yours?
You won't be able to defeat me.
Just as he finished speaking,
Was immediately
Baek
given a
So-hoon.
cold reality
His
check.
arm bone suddenly snapped in two. This had never happened when he and Ru Min
Sparred in the
mayor's office. A second later, Ru Min was still on
Landing
the offensive.
another
direct punch on him. The powerful punch sent him flying into the wall.
Reinforced
concrete
with
mines, exploding with a thunderous
When the dust
boom.
cleared,
a deep hole appeared with Baek So-hoon, having half of his body blown away.
He was
shocked and wondered, "What is this?"
Before
he could finish, Ru Min
continued the attack
and appeared right in front of him. Seeing the incredible speed he had never known from, Baek
felt a
So-hoon
heavy pressure
immediately
that
made him grit his teeth, trying to jump high to avoid
But
the
he
blow.
didn't
react in time, leaving one leg behind forever on the ground. Baek So-hoon thought angrily, impossible. Clearly, that guy's strength was only enough to bend my finger. In such a short amount of time, how could he have become this strong? By now, Ru Min had appeared right above his head. With just a single leap, he raised his arm, calculating in his mind, just escaping won't solve anything. Baek So-hoon will hunt us to the end. Even Dami will become his target. So there's only one way. Thinking of this, Ru Min grit his teeth in anger. His eyes were full of resentment
Baek
and
So-hoon,
threat. Finish you right here. At the moment, Ru Min swung his
Baek
punch
So-hoon
down, panicked and raised his hand, asking
Wait
for a
a minute.
timeout. But suddenly, two bullets flew straight into
Making
his
him
head.
instinctively look over.
Because he lost focus, missed at the most critical moment. Beside him were two soldiers of the Than
They raised their
weapons, aiming at him and asking worriedly, "Deputy Mayor, what are you doing? Mr. Baek So-hoon, are you okay?" Although these two soldiers wanted to help Baek So-hoon, for Baek So-hoon, he needed these two to help in a different way. Right after that, Baek So-hoon grabbed the heads of the two soldiers. He opened his mouth wide to prepare for an energy boost to
On
keep
the other
fighting.
side,
Ru Min witnessed
and
everything.
felt
that this wouldn't end well. He charged straight ahead to stop Baek So-hoon. But suddenly, a knee struck him right in the cheek. A second later, was sent flying into the wall by a powerful force. Under the large hole in the wall, Ru Min struggled to stand up.
eyes
Suddenly became shocked when he saw something hideous. Before him was Baek So-hoon, who had changed form into a fleshy
hulking
figure, with a disgusting mouth full of blood and sharp fangs. He spoke. How ridiculous. I picked up a piece trash to polish and let him shine. How dare you open your mouth to say you'll finish me? Come here and try it. With a body similar to but appearing everywhere as a disgusting monster. His eyes flashed with fury as he growled. Let me show you clearly how much the goddess loves this Baek So-hoon. In the memories of Baek So-hoon, before the zombie apocalypse, at that time, he was just an ordinary human of flesh, but with his silver tongue, he had created a cult of his own. The Sage of White Path. The pure truth of benevolence. I am God. I am different, one who can do anything. That is me. Then he couldn't restrain his lustful eyes as he looked down at a young, beautiful
Dreaming up
female
all
follower.
sorts
of new games in his head. A second later, he suppressed his lust and put on a kind face. Follow me, worship me. I, Baek So-hoon, will save you. But when the zombie disaster began to hit, his face completely lost its confidence. For the first time, he witnessed the most horrific sight of his life. Below, his
We're becoming
followers
easy.
pray for the early zombies. A frantic knocking sounded at the door. Baek So-hoon. The followers have lost their minds and are going crazy. Is this the doomsday you prophesied? If so, please save us. They knocked for a long time, but there was no response. They were already terrified, and now even more afraid. Why is it so quiet? Are you okay? Come out. So they decided to use axes to break the door and force their way in. They asked worriedly, Baek So-hoon, are you okay? Please save us quickly. But the image that hit their eyes was Baek So-hoon in a disheveled state, trying to collect all the money he had swindled to prepare for his escape. Seeing this, the deputy leader asked in shock, what are you doing? But he didn't have the energy to care about others anymore. Baek immediately grabbed the bag of money and bolted out. Get out of the way. The deputy leader angrily ordered. Baek So-hoon is embezzling money and catch him. Immediately, Baek So-hoon was caught by three of them. But he still tried to scream. Let go. I am Baek So-hoon. I am God. That very night he was tied to a pole to perform a sacrifice ritual
he
for the
himself
goddess.
had created.
Amid Baek So-hoon's desperate screams, the deputy leader affirmed to the followers
He has become angry
at the crimes of leader Baek So-hoon, who lost his heart to the devil. God Ki-dong is angry. Gouge out those treacherous eyes. Burn that filthy body to appease God's wrath. But luckily for Baek So-hoon, as his body was about to be burned to ash, the most sincere prayer of his life. Hot. It's too hot. Someone please save me, please. Right after that, the silhouette of a four-winged angel appeared before him. That angel began to grant this follower a supernatural power, a power that could rule over this zombie apocalypse. The flames suddenly erupted and twisted in a strange way, making all the followers back away in fear. The deputy leader stared in shock into the fire. Suddenly, his eyes became filled with utter horror when he saw something that defied reality. From the fire, a completely healthy body with glowing red eyes, like the zombies stepped out. Baek So-hoon am the one permitted to be different from mortals. I am the one granted the ability by love to do anything. Back to the present, his hideous face. He shouted, I am the representative of God. Baek So-hoon took a stance to gain momentum. A second later, his figure vanished. Baek So-hoon seemed to have teleported right in front of, while throwing a punch. Luckily, he managed to dodge the attack just in time. But in an instant, a second blow came, making stunned before his eyes now. It was like facing a giant monster with terrifying strength, as if carefully crafted by the creator. Ru Min-seok failed to dodge his attack. With half of his head remaining, Ru Min-seok still exclaimed in horror, "What is this?" A second later, Ru Min-seok had fully recovered his original state. But before him was Baek So-hoon, who had raised both arms for the next blow. The moment he struck down, Ru Min-seok regained his composure. He jumped high to dodge, but Baek So-hoon once again seemed to have teleported, appearing right in front of him. Baek So-hoon swung his arm straight at Ru Min-seok's face. Then he was sent flying and tumbling 10 times, before ending up on the ground cracked into holes under the floor. Seeing this, Baek So-hoon walked over leisurely and remarked, "Is this all? With only this mediocre strength, you dare to oppose I have received? Truly disappointing." Suddenly, he noticed something. His eyes became shocked. "Ah, now I understand why the goddess sent a wicked devil like you to me, Baek So-hoon." He looked up to the sky and shouted, "It's to be the judge for the sin of defiling the goddess's blessing. It's no one else but Baek So-hoon, whom you trusted. Oh, Goddess Ki-dong, please forgive this deluded servant who has finally awakened. Now, please allow me to plead. Please destroy the evil devil and his gang, and all the children of their bloodline. With pain so great, they'll beg for release." Then he jumped up, preparing to finish. Ru Min-seok with a stomp, shouting loudly, "Right now, I shall deliver judgment." At that same moment, Ru Min-seok suddenly said, in the seemingly endless darkness, a blinding LED light erupted from behind the adjacent wall. Shin Ji-gu flicked the switch on the controller, increasing the intensity to the maximum. Every single LED bulb simultaneously lit up at maximum shining power, directly at the hideous monster Baek So-hoon. Immediately, Baek So-hoon sensed something strange. His body felt completely drained of energy. He instinctively collapsed onto the ground. He struggled to stand up, his face full of confusion, asking, "What's Only going on?" The voice of Ru Min-seok explained, "Wide-angle visual disturbance, either from birth or due to factors causing damage to the optic nerve. So one can only recognize the moving outlines of objects. People with this type of vision have more sensitive nerves than normal people, but the recovery speed of their vision is many times slower. And the thing people like that must be most careful is intense light." Baek So-hoon angrily swung his arms and legs, punching wildly. "What kind of useless joke are you playing? Shut up and come out here now." Suddenly, a series of loud sounds all around. This made Baek limbs tremble, and he fell to his knees once again. He forced his arm up, but the image before him was a blurry vibrating and creating light diffraction patterns. Then Ru Min-seok continued to explain, "Intense light and loud in rapid succession will cause a direct shock, even leading to neural seizures. If it's a nervous system that has exceeded human limits, then that pain will be even more horrific." Ru Min-seok appeared in front of him, looking at his state, evaluating the plan's effectiveness. Mode. All senses have exceeded the human realm. Perhaps that's why all his nerves are frantically exploding. Now, Baek So-hoon finally began to understand everything. Could it be? He calculated all of this from the very beginning. From the start, pretending to duel with just strength, to provoke me into awakening my powers, then pretending to be overwhelmed by that very strength, to lure me to this place. All of this, from the start until now, was it all your plan? Baek So-hoon fell into despair and screamed madly. Ru Min-seok. But on the contrary, Ru Min-seok only replied gently. You're right. Your strength and speed are both superior to mine. It seems you truly were granted a great love. Ru Min-seok put his hand in his pocket. Then he put on metal brass knuckles, preparing for a boxing session, thinking of his daughter in his heart. But did you know? The strength of one who protects love is much stronger than one who just receives it. 327 had passed since Ru Min-seok put on the knuckles. His arm was now covered in blood after hours of non-stop activity. Ru Min-seok landed a punch like a thunderbolt. Next was the second punch with 100% arm strength. Baek So-hoon's body was now just a pile of mutated beaten to a pulp without a fixed shape. Baek So-hoon officially could not recover. Literally, he had gone to meet the goddess in the sky. Shin Ji-gu, standing by, witnessed a monster torturing a monster. His eyes were still filled with shock. The steel knuckles were dropped. Ru Min-seok only then could relax his guard and stand up. After, there was no movement from him at all. Shin Ji-gu approached and remarked, Baek So-hoon, I never thought I'd see him like this, with my own eyes. That was truly amazing. Mr. Ru Min-seok replied calmly, it's all thanks to Captain Shin Ji-gu. You helped me a lot. All the information about was provided by you. Hearing that, Shin Ji-gu didn't believe it. He looked intently at him and thought, no, even if his eyes were blinded by intense light, and even if Baek So-hoon's neurosis became that severe, he still couldn't have been defeated that easily. The reason Ru Min-seok is simply that he is much stronger than him. Under the LED lights, the pile of flesh in the shape was mangled and torn. However, it seemed Baek So-hoon wasn't entirely dead yet. An image of the female angel appeared. Her lips spoke encouragingly, get up. Baek So-hoon's body immediately reacted. Every fiber of Baek So-hoon's flesh began to shift. Then he gradually regained his original form. The only difference was that his eyes were now more resentful than ever. With a piercing scream echoing through the warehouse, all sorts of parts of Baek So-hoon's body, from flesh to heart, liver, and lungs that had been separated, seemed to come alive and fly back to Baek So-hoon. Shin Ji-gu couldn't help but be shocked. He grit his teeth and looked back. This impossible situation before the two of them now, it was no longer the shape of a humanoid monster, but it was a bizarre monster, like a collection of all Baek non-regenerated and regenerated parts gathered together. Shin Ji-gu asked in surprise, is Baek So-hoon still alive? I've never even seen this form before. Ru Min-seok explained, a tardigrade type high-level variant. Shin Ji-gu asked in surprise, wait, Mr. Ru Min-seok, what are you saying? Still intently looked up at the monster and answered, I'm not wrong, that's a super mutant. He suddenly thought, unbelievable. The true identity of So-hoon is a super mutant. Seeing the monster charge, immediately turned to run, not forgetting to pull Shin Ji-gu and warn him, run. If it's really a tardigrade, its characteristic before he could finish, the monster born suddenly Baek stopped. So-hoon. Then its flesh exploded tenfold, 100-fold toward the sky. At the same time, outside the warehouse, the entire population had gathered to prepare for the deputy mayor's inauguration. Since they hadn't seen Ru Min-seok or Baek So-hoon, then my soldiers on the podium began to worry. What's going on? I heard a loud noise inside, but when I went in, I didn't see any guards. You know well enough how the previous deputy mayor disappeared. It's been 3 hours past the schedule. This has never happened before. Could something have really happened? But the soldier next to him comforted him. Snap out of it. Don't you know what kind of person Baek So-hoon is? Just busy with something urgent. He'll show up soon. From behind the soldiers, and right before the eyes of the entire Daejeon population, a hideous monster rose hundreds of meters in front of them. The monster bared its rows of sharp, circular teeth to the sky, enjoying the feeling of being newly born into this world. Seeing that monster, the citizens below were terrified and began gossiping. Apple Tower has been destroyed. What is that giant thing? It's a monster. A giant monster has appeared. Suddenly, the tardigrade looked straight down at the soldiers, making them lose their wits and scream out. Right after that, the tardigrade dove straight into this crowded party. People held their heads and ran in all directions. But some old ladies still didn't quit their habits and asked, what on earth is this? Apple Tower where Baek So-hoon is staying. Where is he? But they didn't know that the freakish thing before them was the very mayor they always adored. So the Honorable Baek So-hoon dove straight down toward the ladies. They were honored to become one with Baek. So the people in front lost their souls and screamed. Save me. Suddenly, an explosion making the monster painfully stop its hunt. Shin Ji-gu below, carrying a cannon, announced loudly, Baek So-hoon, over here. The monster immediately responded. It lunged its sharp teeth right in front of Shin Ji-gu. But Shin Ji-gu was prepared. The moment the monster struck, he had already slid down a rope. Landing on the ground, didn't forget to use a machine gun to volley at the monster as a test. However, it didn't even lose a piece of skin. So he immediately turned around, leaving to get ready for another plan. Shin Ji-gu's eyes narrowed as he remembered Ru Min-sik's instructions. It's useless. Its outer shell is much tougher than reinforced steel, and the harder it's attacked, the more its structure will become firm. Although its shell is indeed hard, its internal organs are surprisingly weak. Shin Ji-gu, please lure it into the building, into Apple Tower. I'll finish it right there. Back at the tallest building in Daejeon. Along with a swat from the monster, that building instantly went from the highest to the lowest point. Shin Ji-gu didn't forget to look back while riding his bike to check if the monster was following him according to plan. Along the way, a series of debris from high-rise buildings fell into every corner. But with his natural racing talent, Shin Ji-gu smoothly dodged every rock until he reached the designated rendezvous point. Shin Ji-gu left the bike and landed, facing the monster. The massive beast was right in front of him. Shin Ji-gu didn't flinch, his eyes filled with absolute trust in the plan created by Ru Min-seok, and he didn't let Shin Ji-gu down. Ru Min-seok appeared right above the Tadik, with a chainsaw in hand, his eyes firmly fixed on Baek, who was as massive as a volcano. Determined to take him down in one go, Ru Min-seok pulled the cord. The chainsaw immediately roared to max power. Then he leaped straight into the air, right above the monster's head. A second later, Ru Min-seok dove straight into the monster's mouth without hesitation. Suddenly, mouthfuls of blood sprayed out from inside the Tadik. It let out a sudden, agonizing scream. A sharp saw blade burst out from the Tadik's body. The monster's pain became even more unbearable. Gallons of blood gushed out with a deafening sound, echoing throughout Daejeon City. Next, a series of holes were carved out from Ru Min-seok, wreaking havoc inside its organs. With a final blow from inside the stomach, Ru Min-seok cut a long slit to make his way out. Because its bloated body wasn't agile enough to fight back, the monster could only keep screaming in vain. A second later, the saw blade appeared on the monster's head. Ru Min-seok swung the saw from the monster's head line all the way down its body, before the stunned eyes of all the residents in Daejeon City. Along with Colonel Cha's team, Bong Ho was observing from the nearby mountaintop. Dami watched in speechless amazement, because down in the city, her father showed her a spectacle of him slicing dozens of giant pate pieces. At 6:57 a.m. on October 19, 2026, the Tadik variant was officially and completely destroyed. The plan to retake Daejeon was a total success. A panicked resident shouted loudly, "What on earth happened to Baek So-hoon? What was that monster anyway? The tower where he stayed has collapsed. Is he dead? Someone please explain." All the lost birds of the city prayed in unison. "Are you there? Baek So-hoon, please don't abandon us." Besides that, a hideous, indescribably ugly face spoke up. "Do you hear that? How much they want me? What kind of existence am I to them? I asked if you heard that, for..." Ru Min-seok ignored his question and remarked, "Still alive? You're quite persistent, Baek So-hoon." A faint voice, but still laughing savagely. "What? Still? I will never die, even if this body rots. As long as there are worshippers in this city. For this, Baek So-hoon, I will exist forever in this city." Suddenly, Ru Min-seok kicked him, stopping his narcissism. "Truly stupid until the very end. Did you forget? The only person in Daejeon who doesn't worship you." Then Baek narrowed his eyes in thought. Then his eyes suddenly widened in shock. Could it be? At the same time, the image of butchering two soldiers from the Cheongmi Force was displayed on the largest screen for the city residents to see. The citizens were utterly shocked. "What is this? That video? It can't be. Is that real? Is the person in that video really Baek So-hoon?" Suddenly, Shinji-gu appeared before
along
the
with
public,
the image
of
of Beak.
making dinner out of young female prey. The people below were buzzing. That soldier is the one who took down the monster just now. Wait, isn't that Shinigami? What? No way, Shinigami was clearly executed last night. So that means Shinji-gu is still alive. And he's the one who saved us from that monster. What the hell is going on? Shinji-gu stood listening to the residents couldn't help but recall the previous advice from Min-seok. If Beak So-hoon disappears, Daejin will fall into chaos. And to end that chaos, the city needs a new leader. I'll ask you one more time. Are you sure you're different from Beak So-hoon? Can you rebuild the city of Daejin? Remembering this, Shinji-gu fell into deep thought. As he wasn't sure if he could do it. After a moment of regaining confidence, he shouted to get everyone's attention, followed by a speech along with evidence clearly shown behind the big TV screen. Shinji-gu spoke from his heart about his feelings for the city, then recounted what he had seen regarding Beak So-hoon, everything he had done. Behind the savior persona he often played, all the residents were stunned by the disillusioning truth they heard and suddenly saw. A resident raised their hand, but their eyes were dazed after the psychological shock. The hand immediately clenched, indicating they had formed their own judgment. A second later, a mass of people responded with cheers and accepted this hero, Shinji-gu. Back to Min-seok. Listen carefully. Beak So-hoon, from now on, Daejin and no one will remember you anymore. The power that exploits people's will is much weaker than the power that protects it. Then he finished with a firm look. Go to hell and keep your eyes open to see clearly. Each word shattered whatever plans Beak had left. So-hoon, he screamed in desperate rage. Min-seok. But before he could finish, Min-seok crushed the remaining half of his head with one kick. October 19, 2026. The city residents have regained their freedom and begun the task of rebuilding the city. With the death of Beak So-hoon, Shinji-gu took supreme power, including the remaining Cheongmi forces. The soldiers who had previously betrayed Shinji-gu were visibly terrified, fearing retaliation. Shinji-gu just patted the chest of the most faint-hearted soldier, then smiled, communicating in a natural way. At that very moment, the city of Daejin was officially and orderly rebuilt, despite the ruins he left behind, the residents whose minds were still scattered across the city. But under the leadership of Shinji-gu, this city will definitely develop in the right direction. October 20, 2026. Colonel Cha Bong-ho led his team back to the brigade. Although they were behind schedule, contrary to concerns, the brigade had resiliently held out against the zombie attacks. Soldiers left behind were crying, complaining, "Commander, you're really too much. We were worried sick, thinking something happened, thinking you had abandoned us." But the response to that worry was a deadly headlock from the monster who didn't know how to restrain his strength. I'm glad to see you guys too. Haha. A soldier spoke up. How is Daejin? Is it really okay? And where is Min-seok? These words made Captain Cha Hai-ji go from grimacing at the old monster to being shocked because that guy stole her heart and then ran off. But the colonel only replied, "Gather all troops at the stadium. From today, our brigade will begin preparations for a large-scale move." The afternoon sun beat down. Min-seok was relaxed standing on a balcony in the Daejin, thinking to himself, "I finally did it. After countless incidents, finally, Dami have settled in Daejin City." He glanced back, confirming the fact that his daughter was very safe here. Dami understood and waved to signal she was fine. Seeing that, Min-seok gently waved back, but suddenly his face became worried. Then he looked into the distance and continued thinking, "However, through this event, I have to face a hard-to-accept truth. No matter how fortified the shelter is, as long as monsters exist in this world, I cannot protect Dami's future. Absolutely. In the end, there is only one way." Min-seok finished his thought and swore to himself, "Anything that dares to threaten Dami's life, I will not let it exist. Using Daejin as a base, I will wipe out all the remaining monsters across Korea, not leaving a single one. All will be destroyed by me." Evening at Daejin Dam. Heavy rain fell relentlessly like a deluge. Someone spoke up. "Water level is at 170 m, still within the safe limit. But we must continue discharging
because
water.
the inflow is too fast.
However, if we put too much pressure on the
power
dam,
supply will be affected.
The manager replied. We'll worry about that later. Lower the water level first.
Let's get inside.
Call Minhan in quickly. Hearing that, he ran over and shouted,
Hey,
Mr. Minhan, what are you doing there? It's dangerous.
But
Mr. Minhan still stood there like
his
a
face
statue, showing the most desperate look in a person's He saw
life.
this and became curious.
Then
followed Mr. Minhan's gaze, watching, amidst the rain, heavy and intense, making visibility limited. When the rain eased slightly, a giant eye suddenly loomed, appearing right beneath the lake surface. Based on the size of the eye, it must be 10 times larger than Godzilla. At the command center, a voice came over the radio. Please respond. This is Gazion Alpha. Please
After
respond.
a while,
with no answer, the staff stood up worriedly to report. We've lost contact with Daejeon for an hour now. I'm not sure. Before he could finish, the commander sadly replied, in the end, all the cities in Korea have been occupied by monsters? Suddenly, someone next to him excitedly
Commander,
reported, something big is
within
happening.
a short radius,
A massive number of monsters are converging toward Gazion. They are heading straight this way. He fearfully left his seat and shouted for orders. Commander, what do we do now? He didn't reply and just stayed silent for a while. After a moment of inner struggle, took out his military ID card and ordered. Operations immediately moved to the basement. Understanding the gravity of this order, the staff member asked in shock, Commander, could it be? You can't do that. If we use that method, the whole world could be destroyed. The commander shouted back, Korea is already effectively extinct. This is the only way to create a chance for
While
a counterattack.
the two were
arguing. Suddenly, the staff member caught a signal. This is Gazion. Please respond. But the commander had accepted the truth. Just closed his eyes and gave up. Forget it. There's no one left anyway. But suddenly he reported, Commander, there's a response signal. Hearing that, he asked in shock, What? Is it real? Update the information on the board in front and report back. Yes, it's not the Daejeon area. Although contact was cut immediately after, it was definitely a signal from a deployed Receiving
unit.
a ray of hope, the sternly looked at the military ID in his hand. His emotions. All right, let's trust one more time. This is a shelter so advanced that it doesn't allow even a single drop of water to leak in. The monsters won't be able to get in here. Then he walked to the information board. After confirming the info, the commander raised his voice. As long as we can take back even one city, Korea can definitely counterattack. But suddenly, drop of water fell. The sound stunned him because this base absolutely shouldn't have any water leaking in. He put his hand on his shoulder to check, and then there was a puddle of water in his hand, like something impossible happening right before his eyes. He instinctively exclaimed, Huh? What is this? He curiously looked up and saw a bizarre monster clinging to the ceiling of the command room. Looking closely, that slimy continuously secreting liquid that fell on his head. Then it suddenly opened its large, scary eyes. Its pupils were blurry, emitting a mysterious red-black light. This was clearly a high-level mutant zombie. On the 7th day after rebuilding Daejeon, in the office of the colonel of the 2nd Mechanized Infantry Brigade, a voice came over the radio. How's the progress? Colonel Cha Bong-ho replied. Don't rush me, Ru Min-seok. This is taking longer than you think. Bringing over 2,000 people. Even with care, preparations are still lacking. Ru Min-seok replied. Yes. We will also cooperate. Created a distance that made the colonel feel sad. You've only been in for a bit. Why is your tone so stiff? Ru Min-seok didn't answer. Did you convince your subordinates properly? Hearing that, the colonel suddenly laughed heartily. What convincing? I say do it, and they do it immediately. Except for one person. Ru Min-seok wondered. One person? The colonel replied shyly. You already know. It's Cha Hai-ji. Right now, Cha was busy doing push-ups to increase arm strength so that later she could punch a certain guy in the face for playing with her feelings. In her head, she still remembered that day when Ru Min-seok told the colonel, the only thing that matters to me is no matter what happens to the brigade, it's none of my business. Remembering this, Hai-ji felt empowered and kept doing push-ups. Suddenly, the image holding of a bouquet of wildflowers, which startled her, smiling. Immediately after, she lost her balance and fell flat on the ground. She quickly sat up with a scowl. Damn it. Back to Colonel Cha Bong-ho complaining. That girl said she can't believe your words. Seems like she's starting to really hate you. But she didn't object violently, so don't
I
worry.
don't raise subordinates so
that they
stupid.
don't understand the significance of this.
On the other side of the radio, Ru Min-seok thought,
Yes, the colonel is right.
a week ago, we succeeded in retaking,
Daejeon.
but to deal with threats
that could strike at any time. Current forces are too
and
insufficient.
Colonel Cha Bong-ho's
is the
brigade
strongest unit in Korea. If such a powerful
meets
unit
Daejeon's
infrastructure, then Daejeon will become the starting point for rebuilding the country.
Thinking this, Ru Min-seok spoke up.
Colonel, please prepare well.
I will also prepare everything before you arrive.
A powerful wave rushed straight
Down to the Ministry of National Defense,
the
under
heart
the
of the
general
military.
staff.
The scene
Gyeonggi
shifts back to sunset when Daejeon
began its reconstruction.
Shin Ji-gu wondered.
Gyeonggi.
You mean we're going to the general staff headquarters
Ru
now?
Min-seok nodded and replied, yes.
Then he frowned and thought to himself.
In my previous life, when I came to
the
Daejeon,
city's military capability wasn't very
mutant
good.
zombie creatures
Appearing then were at most a tier, and they could be completely blocked just with the
skills
command
of Shinigami.
A few years later, at the retaken Bizen government area,
I found a document.
It was a top-secret document,
codenamed The Heart.
According to that top-secret document,
At the general staff
headquarters in South Daejeon, Gyeonggi,
in the
third basement level,
about
there
a
is
type of
information
high-efficiency asset
that was hidden from the outside world. When those devices are recovered, then Daejeon City will be reinforced to a point of being nearly
and
impenetrable.
even if high-level
mutant creatures
they would be
appear,
immediately suppressed.
but now we don't have years to wait. And no reason to wait anymore. We must seize the power to protect
Daejeon
before new variables appear. Suddenly, a movement caught Ru Min-seok's attention.
It was
two soldiers with firm gazes
and
seasoned experience,
wearing
combat gear and walking forward. Both were from the Cheongmi unit, 2nd Lieutenant Lee Jun-hun, and the other was Lieutenant Han Tan. Ru Min-seok remembered Shin Ji-gu's words.
Among
the 10 people I trust, take these two with you. They are the soldiers who defied Baek So-hoon's orders and were locked in the exhibition basement.
So-hoon wanted to use
so he
them.
didn't kill them and kept them instead.
Because they are loyal
ready
men.
to risk their lives for an order.
They will surely be able to help
Remembering this, Ru Min-seok spoke
If my
up. Memory is correct, the way down to the Gazeon basement won't be easy. Are you two ready? They didn't reply, only nodded slightly with determined eyes, ready to sacrifice themselves at any time. Ru Min-seok gave
Then let's
the order.
go.
Let's go seize the heart of the Korean military. Meanwhile, at the Daejeon Dam, in the guard's office, shriveled figures
dried
appeared
up
without a single drop of life left. The staff and manager here didn't even have a bit of skin left on their bodies. It seems they encountered a selective man-eating zombie.
Outside the dam,
The lake water had risen far above the safety
continuously
level, overflowing the embankment. A second later, the
due
dike
to the powerful pressure
began
from
to
the
crack
water.
in chunks. If nothing unexpected happens, the unexpected
largest
will come.
dam
of a city suddenly burst open,